Bell, and I'm here today to help you with planning a successful field trip in EBR schools. Things have changed in the past few years, and I would like to make sure that everyone can plan a successful field trip for their students. Phase 1. You need to discuss the idea with your administrator. Let them know how it aligns with district standards for your subject matter and how it'll increase your students' information retention. You want to get an approval date for the field trip from administration. You should check the school calendar for available dates. Make sure that nothing is overlapping. Make sure that there's nothing planned like testing or specific events at the school, and get the approval from your administrator. Request any chaperones, whether that be a parent, a teacher, or administrator. You need to have at least one chaperone per 10 students. I've never had parents or administrators turn me down. You can also include another teacher that teaches the same subject or something that's parallel where they'll also benefit from their students attending the field trip. Next up, you want to visit the site website, looking for visiting hours, dates, days that they're open. They have shortages with staffing, so you want to make sure that the days of the week that you're wanting to attend for the dates are available. Any fees that they may charge, any COVID restrictions, and make sure to check on your tour group size restrictions. They've changed those as well. Be mindful of the time. Think of start school times, end school times, when the buses line up after school. Some of those drivers have other routes they have to run. You don't want to cut the time too close for them. Think about the commute time between your site and the school, any potential delays, and make sure you schedule in for your kids to have lunch. All right, in phase 2 of your planning, you need to make sure that you submit a bus request form. On that form, it's going to ask you for chaperone information. This is why we covered that in phase 1. So you have it for your bus request form. Give that bus request form straight to the principal. You don't want to hand it to anyone else. It may not get to your principal in time. So make sure that you hand it directly to them. You want to create a permission form for your parent, whether it's digital or on paper. Get the permission form approved by your administrator. Sometimes administrators don't mind if you're handing out permission forms. However, there are quite a few who like to review them before you give them to parents. Make sure that that form includes any relevant information, payment options, COVID information, and any fees that need to be collected. If you are collecting cash over $2, you must issue a receipt to that parent or student. All right. And for the payments, you have to submit a online request form to your secretary if they're only doing digital payments. This is something you usually have to get from the secretary themselves. So make sure you check that out. All right. Phase 3. About 10 to 5 days before your field trip, you want to submit a cafeteria bag lunch request form. This gives them time to prepare. They have other things going on, so be respectful with that. And make sure that you've submitted your professional leave form so that you get paid for being at work that day, even though you're not in the building. And you want to confirm your bus reservation. You don't want to wait until the last minute. Things happen all the time. Sometimes the bus driver who said they were going to do it are no longer available, so it helps to make that phone call to transportation to make sure that the bus is still on track for your field trip. A few reminders. Setting up a reminder for students who have cell phones, especially if you're taking middle to high school kids on a trip, is always a great idea. Reminding them of the fee form submission deadline so that they turn their stuff in. They are kids, they tend to forget. Make sure you find a cooler for the lunches. Usually they come with milk. You want to make sure that they don't get too hot. Confirm with your chaperones. That is so important. Like I said, things change constantly. You want to make sure that your chaperones are still available. and discuss with your administrators any emergency protocols for field trips. They may not have any directly available to you on paper, but at least talking about it with them will be extremely helpful. You also want to review any students who may be attending for a 504 plan or a health plan. If you have a student who's going on the field trip who has diabetes or seizures, you want to be aware of that before you're off campus. And it's also a good practice to talk with parents about those particular students and their needs. All right, so phase 4 of your field trip planning. Between 5 days and 1 day before your field trip, you want to submit a check request form to the secretary. Make sure you're being sweet about it because some of them have deadlines and you don't want to step on their toes. Secretaries are very important people. You want to create an information packet. In this packet, you want to have an address for your site, maybe a small map, your rosters of students. I usually print out about 4 rosters of students, one for the chaperone, one for the bus driver, one for administration, and make sure that that parent information is on the roster. I also on the back side like to include a list of chaperones, the bus driver information, an administrator's phone number, and the school phone number just in case. You also need to have any site paperwork that you need to bring with you, and make sure that when you do get that check that you pack it into that little packet for yourself. You can also request about a day before that an email be sent to faculty notifying them of the students who will be attending so that they don't mark them absent, but that's also optional. All right, we're ready. Trip day. Sometime after breakfast, you want to pick up those lunches from the cafeteria and pack them in the cooler. Get your information packet for both your driver, yourself, your chaperones. You want to meet with your driver and load the lunches onto the bus. You don't want to do this while you're loading the kids on the bus. Things get a little chaotic. So at least knowing what your bus looks like on the inside, introducing yourself to the driver, and not rushing, having a conversation with them as need be about where you're going and any expectations that they may have for you is also important. Once you get your kids, you want to introduce all the chaperones to the students, review any rules for riding the bus and visiting the site. And that kind of, gets everything ready to roll. You want to make sure that you do a student head count and roll call. These are very, very important for successful field trips. So I hope this helped, and I hope you have safe travel.